calendar. Anyways, I'm really happy and proud to be here today. It's been a long journey, and I'm going to sort of break it into two parts. I'm going to talk about Insite and my personal investment in Insite, and then at the end I'm going to talk about some of the observations from the trial, because I certainly learned a lot about it's kind of cool walking in. There's such a hell of an institution. Our lawyers were absolutely brilliant, but I could just see how awestruck one could be. But first of all, I want to start out by saying addicts make bad decisions. That inherently infers that we have actually some options. Before anybody gets wired, there's definitely a period of time when they use drugs, whether they're using it as a coping mechanism, whatever. But if you need any intervention at that time, it's typically a long journey. They talk about treatment as this, let's have treatment instead of harm reduction. First of all, harm reduction is part of treatment. But treatment is a myth. There isn't any treatment out there. They don't want to fund it. It's this mythical thing where they say, oh, just look at treatment. Well, then you wait for 5 months to talk to some counselor who is making a lunch date with their other person they're getting on, and then the next time you go, it's a different person. You continually tell your story to these people, you get nowhere. So all of a sudden you're wired. You've tried, you're wired, and then what do they tell you? You have 3 decisions. What does giving drugs do? You're either going to end up in jail, you're going to end up in that house, or you're going to end up in a cemetery. These are really options that don't motivate people, let me tell you. So, I think that Insite, what Insite brought to the neighborhood, and not only for the people that use it, but for anybody down there, was another option. It gave us hope that somebody actually cared enough to offer us health care in our own neighborhood. A nerve. Before that, we actually had health care by ambulance. People walked around sick until they literally fell down on the sidewalk, were picked up by an ambulance and driven up to St. Paul's Hospital. I just couldn't stand that anymore. I was politicized by Van Du. I'll never forget the active users have to have a group no matter where they've got to be part of the puzzle. I realized that it takes a great deal. I thought we were the only people who matters for the longest time. We were the ones dying. But a lot of people are needed from the very bottom all the way up to the top. One of the things about Insite is that mistaken is that they think it as an injection site. It is part of a comprehensive medical facility. On the first floor, we have an injection site. We also have peer and professional counseling. We have referral to that treatment out there. Then on the second floor, we have a detox that by design works. And also on the third floor, we have transitional housing. And the higher you get in that building, the better off you are. And as any addict knows, getting higher is something we get our teeth into. So first of all, I want to talk about Insite by design. What does an addict need getting off drugs? First of all, it's about a 7 to 10 day. It's very uncomfortable. So let's not try to deny them cigarettes right off the bat. You know, most of us, it's a very little thing, but you know, I've never been in a detox more than 25 hours before I got to Insite. Because I'm not quitting smoking, I'm quitting heroin and cocaine, okay, stupid? You know. But then, what else do I need? I need a toilet. And on the detox, on that second floor, they give you a bed and they give you your own toilet. I tell you the difference that makes. Because through those first 7 to 10 days, we're not changing behavior. We're not trying to get everybody's life in order. We're trying to successfully detox somebody as comfortably as possible. They have achieved that. And then on the third floor, if you manage to get detox, usually it's, oh, you're off drugs? Boo. See you later. Go back, live where you came from. And immediately you're right back on it. And then go to the third floor and get into some rehabilitational transitional housing. And what's really cool about that is that one of the things, getting off drugs took me maybe a month, getting over them took a good year. I was very depressed at about the second month, and they allowed me to pretty well just stay in bed. And I didn't have to go to a bunch of meetings and that, but they checked in on me and they made sure. And that week went by and I thought, you know, if they had forced me to do a bunch of shit, I would have just walked out. But they let me get through that part that I needed to get through on my own, that I had to force myself to make some of these decisions. And that's why my analogy for Insite is this, is that Insite/Onsite gives you enough rope, never lets you hang yourself, and actually teaches you that that rope is a tool to be used to climb out of the hole that you dug yourself into. It's brilliant. I want to thank anybody and everybody who has had anything to do with Insite, from the very beginning, talking about supervised injection sites, to the people who work there, everybody, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of 4,000 addicts in the downtown east side, thank you.
Thank you.
Now some observations on the Supreme Court of Canada. Wow, that was a blast. I walked in there the day before, and I was looking around. I was just awestruck. 5 stories of this beautiful Italian marble. 2 seats where the first 2 Chief Justices actually sat. You're allowed to park your ass in there. I thought that was great. And all of a sudden, this guy walks up. He goes, "Would you like a tour?" And I said, "No, I think maybe tomorrow." He goes, "Not tomorrow. There's going to be a big hullabaloo here. No tours tomorrow." Like, oh my God. And it was really interesting. I thought, wow, this is really important. We really are doing something. And then I was listening to the court, and it was really interesting because they were talking about back and forth, and all of a sudden the judges said, "Look, at Parliament makes and changes law. What we do here, we etch in stone." A little bit different than just making or changing the law. And so it made me think about, first of all, well, we better be prepared for whatever result that comes down, whether it's bad or good. We will be prepared, I guarantee you. But that it is, what we're trying to do has to be etched in stone, first of all, because if we don't etch it in stone, people will come down later, especially with the government we have now, and will chip away. And as I say, it's not easy to chip away when it is written in stone. My second observation goes out, is a shout out to the nurses. The nurses I knew were always critical entry point into the system for the addicts on the street. I have a ton of compassion for you for that reason. But not only that, they are the critical entry point coming back downwards from not only the government through their regulations. I listened, overheard 2 nurses talking about the regs, and all weekend long I studied those regs because I wanted to know exactly what they're talking about. And it really is, without those regulations, without those nurses, Insite never would have happened. Conversation you just saw, that judge was actually talking about, and it's a scheme that lawyers talk about. It's section 4 and 5 of the criminal code, and 56. 4 is possession, 5 is trafficking, and 56 is the exception. And they talk about the scheme, and nurses are actually sort of the input and critical entry point on that criminal justice thing also, because they're the ones who were going to be charged in that, and the government. So, as I say, the nurses play an integral part, and they should have been just as much a plaintiff as an intervener. And the last thing I want to talk about was my observation is how important everybody's piece of the puzzle was. That I'm never going to forget that thousands of addicts paid for their lives. And that was the basis why this all came together. But that it took a lot of people who came together in a common cause to make Insite what it is today. And it will never be shut down as long as I'm on the block.